All right, everybody, now my reported monologue on why some politicians are able to survive situations that would kill, politically, meaning politically kill, just a regular mortal politician. Look, politics is not about a sport. Politics is to see who's going to be in our government, see who at the end of the campaign will actually try to help people in the real lives of real people. But there's no doubting that a lot of you, like me, also enjoy the spectacle of it. Politics is high human drama. It's one of the most competitive contests in the country, along with sports and business. People who compete, particularly at the presidential level, but also for other offices, they're engaged in a really tough and complicated thing. And I have, throughout my career, been fascinated by how certain people survive stuff that if you taught something at a campaign management school, you would say, nope, that person's done. The two greatest survivors, political survivors I've covered, first is the guy who I covered as my very first politician who I covered full time, Bill Clinton, in 1991 and 92. He, of course, survived the allegations related to Jennifer Flowers and other women, also allegations of draft dodging, Whitewater. The guy was a warrior and a survivor, and Republicans admired that. And then, of course, Donald Trump, not just Access Hollywood, but a million and one other things. And both of them are well aware, not just of their reputations as warrior survivors, but also of the techniques to use. Some of it's intellectual, but a lot of it's primal. And so now, in the era of social media, which of course wasn't around in the Clinton days, there's way more attacks. If you're a politician under siege with negative stories, you're attacked literally nonstop on social media. But there's also way more ways to use social media to defend yourself and to rally your supporters. So I've been talking this week, and I'll tell you why in a minute, to a lot of smart Republican and Democratic strategists and to candidates too, about how it is that people try to follow the Clinton and Trump model, who it works for and who it doesn't. And the reason is because this guy running for Senate in Maine, this guy named Plattner, I'm blanking on his first name, somebody's gonna tell me, Graham Plattner. Right? He's a guy who came out of nowhere. He's raised a ton of money. He's gotten endorsements from Bernie Sanders and other leading liberals. And they invested in him to be the Democratic nominee to run against Republican Susan Collins. Susan Collins is a Republican representing a state won by Democrats at the presidential level. That is very rare now for both parties. She's the only Republican left in Congress in New England. And she is someone Democrats badly want to beat, but they need the right nominee. So Plattner got in the race. He's a blue collar guy, blue collar background as an adult at least, although turns out he went to a fancy prep school. And he's was way ahead in the polls. And the establishment of the Democratic Party got Governor Mills, a Democrat, been around a long time in Maine politics, to enter the race. So there are other candidates running, but it's seen as Plattner versus Mills. And mysteriously, the minute Mills got in the race, opposition research started to rain down on Plattner. Old Reddit posts where he wrote offensive things in terms of gender and race, some staff resignations for his team of people saying they couldn't work for him any longer, that he wasn't the person they thought. And these Reddit posts were not ancient history. They're just from a few years ago. He was in the military and soon after he got out, he said he was depressed and confused. That's when the Reddit posts are mostly from. He also had a tattoo, which turned out to seem to be a Nazi symbol. And then reports that despite his denials that he knew it was a Nazi symbol. Then he did a big show of covering it up with a new tattoo. And he's done a round of interviews that have been less than stellar. And yet, not only is he still in the race, but some polls have shown him ahead or way ahead. He continues to do really well. And what got me really thinking about this guy's survival, at least so far, is an event he did on Monday night in a small town in Maine, like an hour and a half outside of Portland, Maine. 700 people showed up. Lots of media too. 700 people. Now, 700 people at a rally in New York City actually would be pretty impressive, although Mondami had thousands the other night. But 700 people in Maine, I haven't time to look into it, but that's got, I think, one of the biggest political events in Maine history. 700 people to go to see this guy do like a town hall. So Mondami's gone through some stuff too here running in New York City, but I want to focus on Plattner and use Plattner to examine this question of how do you survive things? Because when the staff starts to quit, when the stories about you are not about what you believe in, but about controversies, typically the money dries up, the support dries up. We don't know what his fundraising is doing right now, but I bet you it's not bad. His endorsers, like Bernie Sanders, have stood by him. Very similar to what's going on in Virginia with that Democratic Attorney General candidate whose old texts about wanting to kill his opponent and opponents, or not his opponent, but a Republican, and the Republican's family came out. He's still in the race. And no Democrats called for him to get out. But this Plattner thing is so interesting because 700 people means something. And you saw that with Donald Trump and Bill Clinton. During the roughest parts of their political careers, people who supported them have rallied behind them. And rather than losing support net, they've gained support. So let's talk about Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, and then let's talk about Plattner and what people are telling me are kind of the tricks of the trade, how you survive. And again, this is a great spectacle, but it also determines who's going to represent us, who's going to be in the general election in Maine, who's going to potentially be the person representing Maine. So Clinton, I covered him from the start of his campaign in 1991, and then he gets to 1992, and stuff starts to come out. That's what happens when you have success in politics. Opposition research comes out. Some of it's organic, reporters are digging, but a lot of it comes from political opponents. And so Clinton was facing these audio tapes of Jennifer Flowers, where he talked to her on the phone and she secretly recorded it and she gave it to the supermarket tabloids. Then a letter came out that actually my colleagues at ABC News got, where he wrote a letter to the guy who helped him get out of the draft, his local draft official in the Vietnam era. And he talked in there basically about trying to stay out of the war. Clinton masterfully turned this. And this is the start of his time on the national stage, where he understood, what do you say? How do you say to voters, don't give up on me? This is, for me, always been the classic soundbite. In February of 92, goes on Nightline with Ted Koppel on ABC and explains his war history on Vietnam, and then has this classic soundbite. This is S2, please.
The people of this state are fundamentally fair. They're hurting. They desperately want this election to be about their tomorrows, their future, their problems, not about my yesterdays.
So again, that's from New Hampshire, trying to win the New Hampshire primary. He ended up finishing second in the New Hampshire primary to Paul Tsongas, but he dubbed himself the comeback kid and went on to win the nomination. And again, that line, the opponents want the election to be about my yesterdays, but he wants to make the election about voters' tomorrows. That line, that appeals to a lot of people. It's a fighting line. It accuses the opponents of trying to distract the election from the real issues. And again, most people, maybe not in the media, but most voters, they don't care what a politician did yesterday. They're more focused on the future. So great line. And of course, Clinton went on to repeat that kind of line during the Lewinsky scandal, every other thing he was hit with while he was president. And he was a survivor. One of the biographies of Bill Clinton is called The Survivor, and that's why. Same thing with Trump, and the similarities are going to be manifest to anybody who understands. This is Trump from his first presidential campaign in Iowa in 2016 with one of the most famous lines of all time about political resilience. This is S1, please.
Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
So Graham Plattner is basically, there's no Fifth Avenue in Maine that I know of, but he's basically done the political equivalent of shooting somebody, oppo dump after oppo dump about his past, and it doesn't matter. The voters are fine with it. It's, as Trump said, I won't lose any voters. Now maybe Plattner's lost some voters over this, but he did draw 700 people to a political event. So then fast forward to 2024, Trump's running again, and he's been indicted and Russiagate and all this stuff, and Trump doesn't want this to derail him. So he goes to a line extremely reminiscent of the Clinton line, right? Extremely reminiscent. This is Trump talking about how he doesn't want the election to be about himself, and because they're not really trying to attack him, they're trying to attack his supporters. This is S3, please.
They know that we can defeat them. They know that we will defeat them, but they're not coming after me. They're coming after you.
So that's the outlines of the playbook, right? The outlines of the playbook are, say they're attacking me because they don't want you to win. If you let my enemies who are coming after me win, you, the voter who supports me, will lose. That's the core of the message. But what I did this week was I asked a bunch of people in politics who've worked on these kind of operations, including with Trump and Clinton, what are the elements of this kind of messaging? What are the elements of this kind of effort to save yourself? And again, just to show you how, Plattner should be dead politically. He should have had to withdraw from the race. All this negative information about his recent past, the top people from his campaign leaving the campaign, at least 2 officials, but he's not. And here's why he's alive. Here's S1. This is the scene in Maine last night, Monday night, this Plattner town hall meeting. And you just don't see crowds like this for a normal Senate candidate. Massive room. The press there said 700 people. Here's another shot of the room. Again, you see how big it is. And the questions were largely about policy. One was about his old post. No questions about that tattoo. And one of the reporters who was there tweeted out about how there's this national press there. So this guy is not dead. Now, maybe he won't win the nomination. Maybe other stuff will derail him. But right now, I'd say he's either stable, which after all he's been through is a great place to be, or maybe even rising, as testified to the fact that his endorsers like Sanders have stayed with him. You ever notice those creepy ads that pop up on your phone and seem to know exactly where you've been, what you've bought, even the people you've been talking about? You've probably asked yourself, is this phone monitoring me? Well, the truth is, your smartphone is constantly collecting and leaking data without your knowledge and without your consent. Every day, it builds a detailed profile of your life, your location, your habits, your interests, even the people you communicate with. That information is then funneled into an invisible marketplace where it's tracked, analyzed, and sold to the highest bidders. It's not just annoying, it's invasive, and it's happening all the time. But the Up phone by Unplugged is different. It's designed to protect your privacy from the ground up. No hidden trackers, no data mining, just a secure, streamlined smartphone experience that puts you back in control. Whether you're texting, browsing, or using any app, the Up phone ensures your personal information stays personal. It's the phone for people who are done being watched. Are you ready to take back your digital privacy? You can. Visit unplugged.com/Mark and get $25 off a phone case with the purchase of a phone. Learn more and order your Up phone today. That's unplugged.com/Mark, because your life should be yours, not theirs.